Rain swept across the city in slanting sheets, turning the roofs of King's Landing into a sea of slick black tile and shining, muddy alleys. From the balcony of the Tower of the Hand, Eddard Stark stared down at the lights of the capital as if it were an enemy host. The damp wind pulled at the edge of his cloak, setting the direwolf clasp to rattling softly against his mail. He barely felt it. His thoughts were in the bedchamber below, where his king and friend lay fading beneath linen and sweet wine. Behind him, bootsteps clicked on the stone. Renly Baratheon moved with the polished ease of a courtier and a knight, green cloak swaying, dark hair wet from the rain. He did not bother with courtesies. There was no time left for them. "Lord Eddard." His voice was a low, urgent thing. "We have hours, if that. Less if the gods are cruel. Cersei Lannister is not going to wait politely for my brother to die before she makes her move." Eddard turned, the lines in his face cut deep by exhaustion. "I know what she is," he said, "and what she has done. That does not mean I will answer treachery with treachery." Renly stepped closer, rainwater beating on his polished breastplate. "This isn't about treachery. It's survival. Joffrey Baratheon is not Robert's son. You know it. She knows you know it. Do you think she will let you walk out of here once my brother is dead? She'll take the boy to the throne, tear up that scrap of parchment, and have your head off your shoulders before the ink is dry." Eddard's hand tightened on the balcony's lip of cold stone. He had thought these same thoughts in the long watches of the night, turning them over like a sword in the forge. Every path he walked ended at the block or in a river of blood. "I will place Stannis Baratheon on the throne," he said, more to himself than to Renly. "He is Robert's rightful heir." Renly gave a sharp laugh. "Stannis? Gods, Eddard. He sits in his dark nest on Dragonstone counting lawbooks while lions claw for his throat. He's not here. He has no friends here. Cersei does. Littlefinger does. Varys smiles and says nothing. And behind that nothing is another storm you cannot see. I will not steal a crown. I am not asking you to steal it." Renly's eyes, so like his brother's and yet sharper, harder, glinted in the torchlight. "Robert named you protector of the realm. Use it. Sit the Iron Throne. Hold the bastards by the throat until Stannis comes. Or until the realm sees fit to keep the only man in this city who still remembers what honor means." Honor. The word was a weight between them. Eddard thought of Lyanna's statue in the cold crypts of Winterfell, of the promise he had made by her bed of blood and roses. He thought of his daughters sleeping under a lion's roof. He thought of Jon's face, pale beneath the black of the Night's Watch, and of Bran's broken legs, and of the direwolf skins hung in the north while Southrons played their games with steel and words. "What you ask," he said quietly, "is that I put my hand upon that throne and cling to it, though the whole realm call me usurper and traitor." Renly spread his hands. "Call it what you like. The realm will call you alive. That's more than the Septon will be able to say over your bones if you leave this to chance. Buy the city watch, lock down the Red Keep, take Cersei Lannister's cubs alive and use them to leash Tywin Lannister. Publicly, you are the obedient hand, honoring Robert's will. Privately, you are the only thing standing between us and a Lannister kingdom. And if I refuse, then tomorrow when Robert breathes his last, you walk into that throne room like a lamb to the slaughter." Renly's jaw clenched. "I tried to warn you once. You would not hear me. I won't watch your head roll a second time in my dreams." Lightning flickered far to the east, over the dark line of the sea. Eddard turned back to the city, to the towers and walls and alleys that hid more daggers than he could count. His father had died in this city, burning in the madness of a king. His brother had strangled on a golden noose. He had sworn he would never be so blind. "I will not see my daughters orphaned in this snake pit," he said at last, the words grinding in his throat. "Nor leave the realm to Cersei Lannister's bastards. If I must sit that damn chair to keep that from happening, I will sit it. But I will not wear a crown that is not mine. Not for a day. Not for an hour longer than it takes to see Stannis Baratheon in his rightful place." Renly's breath left him in a sharp sigh. That is enough. More than enough. We move tonight. Tonight, Eddard Stark said, and the decision settled over him like a cloak of lead. Send word to those you trust. I will see to the city watch. For all our sakes, Renly murmured. May the gods favor wolves over lions. The chamber smelled of damp stone, sweat, and tallow smoke. Torches guttered in iron sconces, throwing the shadows of men long upon the walls. The gold cloaks of the captains gleamed dully in the low light, their faces a mix of curiosity, suspicion, and hunger. Janos Slynt stood at their head, thick-necked and thick-waisted, his small eyes never straying far from the iron-bound chest upon the table. Eddard Stark watched him, measuring. Years in the north had taught him how to read the set of a man's shoulders, the way his hand crept toward his purse string when he thought no one saw. Janos Slynt wore duty like an ill-fitting cloak and greed like a second skin. Lord Hand. Slynt's voice was oily with false respect. You ask much of the city watch. To lay hands on the queen and the king's own children, that is no small thing. Men might call it treason. Men call many things treason when it suits them, Eddard replied, his tone cool. I ask only that you uphold the king's will. Here. He laid Robert's letter upon the table, the royal seal unbroken, the writing within naming him protector until the king's heir should come of age. His grace has commanded it. Slynt glanced at the parchment but did not touch it. The captains exchanged looks, some shifting on their feet, uncertain. They were not used to matters of ink and law. These were men of coin and short steel. Begging your pardon, my lord, Slynt said. But paper is one thing, swords another. The queen, she has Lannister gold and Lannister knights. Her father is 1,000 leagues away, Eddard cut in. And while he is away, his grandchildren sit under my protection. I do not ask you to spill their blood, only to keep them from seizing power that is not theirs. He nodded to Jory Castle, who stepped forward. At Eddard's signal, 2 Stark men-at-arms heaved open the chest's lid. The torchlight caught on the bright, round faces within, and suddenly the room smelled of gold. Coins gleamed in neat stacks, dragons rising like small hills. The captain's eyes widened. Slynt licked his lips. The city watch has long been neglected, Eddard said softly. Men paid late or not at all, armor gone to rust, swords dulled. That ends tonight. I will see the watch fed, armed, and honored as befits the shields of the city. This, he gestured to the gold, is the first of many such chests. Slynt could not quite keep the greed from his voice. From the crown, my lord? From House Stark? Eddard held his gaze until the other man looked away. From the north, my word on it and my honor, but I will know where the watch stands, with the king's will or against it. The torches crackled. One of the captains, an older man with a scar down his cheek, shifted his spear. We've worn gold cloaks under one king and another, he muttered. Seen hands come and go. Never seen one bring gold with him, though. Slynt swallowed. His fingers twitched as if itching to plunge into the coins. And if the queen bids us stand aside? Then she bids you defy the king himself, Eddard said. You swore oaths, not to the queen or her father, but to the crown. Tomorrow, when the king's will is read in the throne room, there will be confusion, shouting, perhaps blood. When I give the order to place the queen and her children under guard, you will obey. No man raises steel against them unless they raise it first. But you will obey. And if Prince Joffrey commands us otherwise? Slynt asked, still clinging to the last remnants of hesitation like a man to a sinking plank. When the king is dead, there will be no prince, Eddard said, the words heavy. Only the king's named protector, until the rightful heir can be seated. You will obey the protector, or you will answer for it. Silence held the room for a heartbeat too long. Then Slynt's face smoothed into something like resolve. It was not loyalty, Eddard thought, but the next best thing that could be bought in this city. The city watch stands with the protector, Slynt said loudly, for his captains as much as for himself. "We are your men, Lord Hand." One by one, the captains bent knee and swore. Eddard heard each name, each oath, and fixed them in his mind like tally marks on a ledger. Oaths spoken before gold were fragile things. "Remember," he said, as the chest was closed and the clink of dragons faded. "This gold is not a bribe, it is payment for honest service. Tomorrow, the realm will see whether the City Watch stands for order or sells itself for a higher price. There will be no second chance." As they filed out, Slynt lingered, his eyes small and calculating. "You are a hard man, Lord Stark," he said. "Hard men do well in King's Landing." "No," Eddard replied. "They die more slowly." By the time he reached his solar, the castle had quieted. The rain still whispered against the shutters, but the roar of the city had dimmed to a dull, distant murmur. Only the scratch of his quill and the soft crackle of the hearth disturbed the silence within. Eddard Stark finished the letter to Stannis Baratheon, sanded it, and sealed it with wax and the dire wolf of House Stark. He set it aside beside two others, one to Dragonstone, one to Winterfell. Like men he meant to send into battle. Words as spears, he thought grimly, and all too easily broken. There was a timid knock on the door. "Father," Sansa's voice, thin and uncertain. "Come," he called. She slipped in with the grace of a courtly maid, her hair brushed to shining copper, her gown a soft blue that flattered her eyes. Arya slipped in behind her like a shadow, her hair uncombed, her boots muddy. Needle was nowhere in sight, but Eddard would have wagered half the treasury it lay close at hand. "You should both be Abed," he said, though his voice lacked rebuke. "It's late." "We couldn't sleep," Sansa said. She stood just inside the door, hands folded, eyes flicking to the letters on the table. "Septa Mordane says the king is very ill. The servants are whispering." Arya moved closer, peering at the wax seals. "Is he going to die?" she asked bluntly. Eddard looked at them. One child shaped by southern songs and promises of golden princes, the other half wild, all wolf and wind. He had brought them here, into this nest of vipers, and now the vipers stirred. "He is a strong man," he said. It was not quite a lie and not quite the truth. "He has suffered a great hurt. The maesters do what they can." Sansa bit her lip. "The Lannisters were laughing in the courtyard," she whispered. "I saw Ser Boros and Ser Meryn drinking with Ser Mandon. They looked pleased. I don't understand why they would look pleased if the king is sick." Arya snorted. "Because they're lions," she said. "They like when things die." "Arya?" Eddard said sharply, but she only glared back, stubborn as her aunt had ever been. "Come here, both of you," he said, and patted the bench beside his chair. They came, Sansa smoothing her skirts, Arya clambering up without grace. He rested a hand on each of their shoulders, feeling the narrowness of their bones under cloth. "Listen to me," he said. "The days to come may be dangerous. There will be talk of kings and crowns, of treason and loyalty, and every man in this city will swear he knows the truth. You must trust no one lightly. Hear what is said, but do not repeat it. Not to your friends, not to your septa, not even to each other if you are not sure." Sansa's eyes filled with sudden tears. "Are we going home?" she asked. "To Winterfell? You promised." "I remember what I promised," Eddard said, and the promise was a stone in his gut. "Soon. But first there is something I must do to keep you safe, to keep the realm from bleeding." Arya's hand crept to her belt, where Needle would be when she thought no one watched. "Is it fighting?" she asked, her voice low with a mixture of fear and excitement. "Will we have to fight?" He almost smiled. "No, that is my task. Yours is to be brave and quiet and watchful. Sansa, you are betrothed to Joffrey Baratheon. Whatever comes, remember that any word you speak of him or his mother will find its way back to their ears. Be courteous, be cautious. Do you understand?" She nodded, swallowing hard. "I do, father." "Arya," he said, turning to the younger girl, "you must stay close to Septa Mordane and to your sister. No slipping away to chase cats or swing swords. Not until I say otherwise." Her mouth opened in protest. He laid a hand on her head and felt how small she still was. "This is not Winterfell," he said softly. "If you cross the wrong man here, he does not box your ears. He puts a dagger in your back. I would not have to stand on a cold wall in the north and wonder if you live or lie in some alley. Forgotten." The image struck him too sharply. He pressed it away. "Tomorrow," he went on, "you will hear angry voices. You may see swords drawn. Whatever happens, you are to stay where you are told. If I send men to fetch you, you go with them and ask no questions. And if I send you away from me, back to Winterfell, to the Vale, wherever, then you must go. Do not argue. Do not look back." Arya's face had gone pale beneath the dirt. Are you leaving us?" she whispered. "No," he drew them both into his arms, smelling Sansa's rose oil and Arya's horse and dust. "No, sweetling. I mean to stay. I mean to keep you with me. But there are things I cannot wholly command. I can only prepare for them. That is what I do now." He released them with reluctance. "Go to bed. Pray if you will. To the new gods, to the old. Perhaps both will listen. And remember what I've said." Sansa rose in a rustle of skirts. She hesitated, then bent to kiss his cheek. "Good night, father," she murmured. Arya lingered a heartbeat longer, eyes too bright. Then she hugged him hard about the neck, almost fiercely, before spinning away and bolting for the door as if afraid of her own show of tenderness. When they were gone, the room seemed emptier than before. Eddard sat alone with his letters and his thoughts, listening to the rain. At length, he reached for another sheet of parchment. To Tywin Lannister, Lord of Casterly Rock. He stared at the blank page a long time before he began to write. Robert's labored breathing still echoed in Eddard's ears long after he left the royal bedchamber. It had been hours since, perhaps, time had lost its shape. Yet when he closed his eyes, he saw again the great bear of a man reduced to a pale mountain of flesh, the boar's tusks having carved more than meat. He heard the rasp of his old friend's voice. "Write it down, Ned. Write it. I'll not have Cersei Lannister putting words in my mouth when I'm cold." He had written. By shaking candlelight, he had scratched out the king's will, naming him protector of the realm, with all the authority that entailed. His hand had almost slipped, almost written "my rightful heir" instead of "my son Joffrey." But he could not bring himself to lay the full truth before Robert in his final moments. He had chosen mercy for a dying man over the clean blade of truth. Now mercy came back to haunt him. He had seen the flicker of suspicion in Robert's eyes when he sealed the letter. "You'll rule until he comes of age, Ned," the king had muttered. "Rule them with a firm hand. Don't let them cow you with their silks and whispers. Promise me." "I promise," he had said. He had not understood then what that promise would demand. In the bedchamber, the air had reeked of blood, sour wine, and Maester Pycelle's powders. Outside it, in the corridor, it smelled of stone and scented rushes and the lingering musk of courtiers' perfumes. Life went on beyond the door, even as a king died within. Now, in the quiet hours before dawn, Eddard sat alone in that memory, feeling the weight of the scroll in his mind as keenly as he had felt it in his hand. Protector. The word seemed larger than any man. Yet the realm would have one or it would have chaos. He had tried to imagine another path. To walk into the throne room on the morrow, present the will, accept the council's oaths, and step aside for Joffrey Baratheon. Knowing the boy was not Baratheon at all. To hope that some miracle of conscience would stay Cersei's hand, that the queen who had ordered a butcher to slaughter wolf pups would show mercy to a northern lord who knew her darkest secret. He had imagined it, and every time the vision ended with his blood on the steps of the throne and his daughters dragged from their chambers screaming. Lyanna's statue looked at him from the back of his skull with stone eyes. "Promise me, Ned." "I have," he murmured to the empty room. "And I will." The sky beyond the window was turning from black to the bruised gray of false dawn. The city slept uneasily beneath it. Somewhere in the Red Keep, Varys would be moving like a pale spider through his webs. Littlefinger would be counting his coins and secrets. Cersei would be watching Robert's bedside, one hand on her son's shoulder, already wearing a widow's crown in her mind. He rose, joints stiff, and buckled on his sword belt. Ice was too great a blade to wear in these cramped stone halls, but the weight of the smaller sword at his hip steadied him. He took the king's sealed letter from the table and held it for a moment, feeling the impression of the stag under his thumb. "Robert," he said softly, "to the memory of a man who had been boy and brother-in-arms as much as king, I will keep my promise, whatever it costs." Then he blew out the candles one by one, plunging the room into darkness, and stepped out to meet the day that would either make him the realm's shield or its next dead fool. The throne room of the Red Keep had never seemed so vast. Its vaulted ceiling rose into darkness, the great red and black banners of House Targaryen still hanging like faded ghosts above the stag and lion of Robert's reign. Sun speared in through the high windows, bright shafts that turned the dust motes into drifting gold. Between the pillars, the court gathered in a susurrus of silk and steel. Eddard Stark walked up the aisle with the slow, steady tread of a man climbing a gallows. His gray cloak trailed upon the dark stone. Behind him came his guard, Jory Castle at his right, Hallis Malin at his left, others fanning out silently. To either side, the gold cloaks of the city watch lined the walls, their armor freshly polished, their eyes following his progress. Janos Slynt stood with them, his face unreadable. Word of Robert's impending death had spread like fire in dry grass. Every lordling and courtier of consequence was here to see what the flames would do to the city. At the far end of the hall loomed the Iron Throne, hunched and jagged, a mountain of twisted swords and shadow. Robert's bulk did not fill it today. Instead, the boy sat there, one hand upon the arm of the throne as if he meant to crush it. Joffrey Baratheon's golden hair shone in the light, his thin lips pressed in a line of self-important solemnity that did not reach his eyes. Beside him, Cersei Lannister stood in a gown of deep green, gold lions worked along her sleeves. Her hair was a shining cascade down her back, her face a mask of pale grief that did not quite conceal the glitter of triumph beneath. Tommen and Myrcella clung to her skirts, wide-eyed. On the steps below the throne, the small council waited. Varys inclined his bald head as Eddard approached, hands folded in his sleeves, mouth curved in a little smile that meant nothing and everything. Peter Baelish lounged with one hand resting lightly on the pommel of his dagger, eyes bright with interest. Grand Maester Pycelle leaned upon his staff, his long white beard trembling faintly. "Lord Eddard," Cersei said as he came to the foot of the steps. Her voice carried, smooth as silk over steel. "The king lies dying. It is good that you are here to honor his will." "I am here to see it fulfilled," Eddard replied. His voice carried, too. The hall quieted, as if drawn taut on an unseen rope. He took the sealed letter from within his cloak. The stag's impression in the red wax seemed to gleam. "By the hand of Robert Baratheon, first of his name, King of the Undulls and the First Men," he said, "I bear his final will." Joffrey stirred on the throne. "I am the king," he said, voice cracking slightly. "My father told me so. He said I should sit the throne and rule in his name." Eddard looked up at him. The boy was all Cersei, in the lines of his face, the tilt of his chin. There was none of Robert's rough good humor in him, none of the booming laugh or easy camaraderie that had charmed half the realm. "Your father named his heir," Eddard said carefully, "and he named a protector to rule until that heir comes of age." He broke the wax. The crack echoed like a snapped bone. Every eye in the hall followed the movement of the parchment. "Read it, Lord Stark," Cersei said. "Let the realm hear the king's voice one last time." He read. The old words, set down in his own hand at a dying man's bedside, sounded different here beneath the cold gaze of the Iron Throne. "And I hereby name Eddard of House Stark, Lord of Winterfell and Hand of the King, as protector of the realm, to rule in my stead until my heir is of age." He had written "my heir," not "my son Joffrey." Even now, the small omission made the hair on his neck rise. There was a murmur through the hall. Some faces turned toward Joffrey, some toward Cersei. A few darted to Stannis Baratheon's empty place, as if expecting him to step from the shadows at this naming. "The king's will is plain," Eddard said. He rolled the parchment and held it aloft. "Until his rightful heir is seated, the realm is under the protection of his named regent." Cersei stepped forward, smile brittle. "Indeed," she said, "and he has no more loyal servant than I. As the king's widow and the mother of his heir, I will." "The will names me," Eddard said, not raising his voice and yet cutting through hers. "Protector of the realm, until the rightful heir is seated." The word hung there, rightful. A flicker crossed Cersei's face, gone in an instant. Her eyes went cold. "You presume much, Lord Stark," she said. "If you think to set yourself above the king's own blood, I presume only to carry out the command of my king," he replied. "Your grace." He turned then, not to her, not to the boy on the throne, but to the city watch, to Janos Slynt. "Commander Slynt," Eddard Stark said, "in the king's name and by his written will, I order the queen and her children placed under guard, for their safety and the realm's peace, until this matter of succession is lawfully resolved. No hand is to be laid upon them in harm. Any man who disobeys this order will answer to me as a traitor." The hall froze. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. All turned to the gold cloaks. Slynt's throat bobbed. For one long heartbeat, his eyes darted between Eddard Stark, Cersei Lannister, and the iron bulk of the throne. He saw the future of the city written there in blood and gold. Then he drew his sword. "For the Protector," Janos Slynt said, loud and clear, and the sound of steel leaving scabbards filled the hall like sudden rain. Chaos broke like a storm. Half the Lannister guardsmen had hands on their hilts the instant Eddard's order left his lips. The other half stood stunned, caught between queen and throne and the unexpected sight of the city watch's blades turning. Not toward the Stark line, as Littlefinger had once whispered they would, but outward, forming a wall of steel at the foot of the steps. "Commander Slynt," Cersei hissed, her composure cracking, "you will stand down at once. You will obey your queen." Slynt did not look at her. "I will obey the king's will," he said, "and the king's will names a protector." His voice shook, but his sword did not. The captains under him followed his lead, their gold cloaks flaring as they moved to block the red and gold of House Lannister. On the steps, Joffrey jerked to his feet. "Seize him," he shouted, his finger stabbing toward Eddard. "Seize that traitor. I am the king. I am." "Sit down, boy," Eddard said. The words came out like hoarfrost. He did not raise his hand to his hilt. Not yet. The first sword cleared the distance between thought and action. A Lannister knight, a bull-shouldered man with a lion worked in crimson on his breastplate, lunged, blade flashing toward Jory Castle's exposed side. Jory twisted, steel ringing as he met the cut, and suddenly the room was full of the clang of metal, the grunt of men colliding, the startled shrieks of courtiers. "Protect the queen!" another Lannister shouted. "Protect the protector!" roared a gold cloak, and the two cries met in the air like charging stags. Peter Baelish moved in the confusion, slipping through the press with the fluidity of a man well accustomed to chaos. His hand went to the dagger at his waist, the same narrow blade he had once lent to Catelyn Stark. Eddard saw him through the shifting bodies, their gazes locking for a heartbeat. In that heartbeat, Peter smiled. Then a mailed hand clamped around his wrist, wrenching the dagger away. Hallis Mullen's face loomed over him, grim as stone. "Not today, little man," Hallis growled, twisting hard. The dagger skittered across the stone. Varys, pale as a grub in his lavender robes, melted back from the fighting, hands raised in a servile gesture that was also one of self-preservation. "Gentle sirs, please," he called, his voice thin against the roar. "This is the throne room, not a..." A fallen spear clattered at his feet. He scuttled away. On the steps, Jory's men formed a ring around Eddard, swords drawn. A gold cloak went down with a scream, a Lannister blade in his belly. Another Lannister fell an instant later, his throat laid open by one of Slynt's captains. Blood slicked the stone. "Enough!" Eddard shouted, but his voice was lost. Tomard, a hulking Northman with arms like tree trunks, caught a Lannister's descending sword upon his own and kicked the man backward, sending him sprawling. A gold cloak shoved the downed man's companion away from the queen, inadvertently knocking Cersei against the iron rail. She staggered, one hand flying out to clutch Joffrey's arm. "Mother?" Joffrey yelped, more afraid now than angry. Tommen began to cry. Myrcella clung to Cersei's skirts, her face white. "Stop this!" Cersei screamed. "In the name of the king, stop this madness." "In the name of the king," Eddard thought grimly. Perhaps they should. He saw with a swordsman's eye where the fight was tipping. The City Watch had numbers, but the Lannister men-at-arms were trained killers, armored in good steel, desperate and cornered. Each moment the chaos continued. The chance of some stray blade finding a prince's heart or his own daughter's in some gallery above grew. He had wanted peace. Instead, he had a brawl in a hall of kings. "Janos!" he bellowed. Slynt heard him. Eddard saw the man's head snap around, saw calculation war with fear. "Call them off," Eddard shouted. "Now, or this ends with dead princes and a dead queen, and you explaining to the realm why you let it happen." Slynt hesitated only a heartbeat longer. "Stand down!" he roared, his voice raw. "City Watch, stand down! Back! You fools, back!" Training and habit asserted themselves. The gold cloaks stepped back, pushing themselves between the Lannisters and the Starks, forcing the warring blades apart. Jory's men dropped slightly into guard, ready but not advancing. The Lannister guards, panting and wild-eyed, found themselves ringed by hostile spears. The noise ebbed to an ugly murmur. One man groaned on the floor. Blood spread in a slow, sticky pool. Cersei glared at Eddard Stark as if she could flay him where he stood. A red mark bloomed on her arm where she had struck the iron. "You will pay for this," she spat. "You and your whole line. I swear it on the graves of my children." "They are not dead yet," Eddard said. "And if you value their lives, you will submit to lawful custody." Joffrey's face contorted. "You can't." "Joffrey," she snapped, never taking her eyes from Eddard. "Be silent." He had never seen such hatred in a woman's stare, not even in Catelyn's when she spoke of Tyrion Lannister. It washed over him like a wave over rock. He let it pass. "Commander Slynt," he said, voice steady though his heart thudded in his chest. "Disarm the Lannister guards. Escort the queen and her children to their chambers and place them under guard. No harm is to come to them. Any man who strikes them without my order dies for it. Do you understand me?" Slynt swallowed. "Aye, my lord. I understand." Cersei drew herself up to her full height, drawing her children close. "Do not think this is over, Stark," she said. "You may have bought your life for a day, but the lion does not forget." "The wolf forgets nothing," he replied. As the gold cloaks carefully herded the Lannister guards back and formed a cordon around the queen and her brood, the courtiers pressed against the walls, their eyes wide with fright and hungry fascination. Alliances were already being measured, THS weighed against coin and survival. The realm had seen a glimpse of its new balance. And above them all, the Iron Throne brooded, waiting to see who would dare sit it. When the queen and her children had been escorted from the hall, surrounded by a hedge of spears and pale faces, a strange hush fell. The courtiers lingered, unwilling to be the first to flee, yet equally reluctant to be noticed. The smell of fresh blood mingled with incense and the faint tang of old iron. The Iron Throne sat empty. Eddard Stark stood at the foot of its steps, the king's will still clutched in one hand, his sword heavy at his hip. He felt every eye upon him. The lords, the knights, the whisperers and schemers, the servants in plain livery who saw more than most. Even the carved stone dragons seemed to watch. Varys moved first, gliding forward with hands spread in a placating gesture. "My lords, my ladies," he said, his voice thin and soothing. "What we have seen today is but an unfortunate misunderstanding. The king's will, praise the gods, has been read. The realm is not without guidance in this sorrowful hour." He inclined his bare head toward Eddard. "Lord Stark, as the king's named protector, perhaps you would reassure the court of your intentions?" Eddard's throat felt dry. He had never wanted this hall, this city, this throne. He had wanted snow under his boots and the clear, honest cold of the north. But the gods cared little for what men wanted. He turned to face the court fully. The light from the high windows caught the silver threads at his temples, making them glint like frost. "King Robert Baratheon lies dying," he said. "The realm mourns. In his last hours, he set his seal to this will, naming a protector to rule until his rightful heir is seated. That duty falls to me." A murmur rose and fell. "I did not seek it," he went on. "I do not covet crowns or thrones. But I will not see the kings will set at naught, nor the realm torn apart by those who would use his death to raise their own banners. Until the lawfully rightful heir is agreed upon and crowned, the power of the crown will pass through my hands. I will wield it only as necessity and honor demand." Peter Baelish, his wrists still reddened from Hallis Mullen's grip, stepped forward with a languid bow. "Then perhaps, my Lord Protector, you should demonstrate this new authority," he said, the slightest edge of amusement in his tone. "Symbols matter. People need to see who leads them now." He gestured, a little flourish, toward the throne. Eddard met his eyes. Littlefinger's expression was one of polite suggestion, but behind it lay sharp curiosity. He wanted to see if the wolf would dare plant his paws upon that pile of blades. Eddard lowered his gaze to the steps. The iron seat loomed above, each twisted sword a relic of conquest and submission. Aegon the Conqueror had forged it from the blades of those who had bent the knee. Men had died upon those edges. Men had killed for them. "Lord Stark," Varys murmured, "the realm must see the kings will made flesh." He thought of Robert, laughing and drunk, sprawling across the throne as if it were no more than a hunting stool. He thought of the Mad King and of Brandon choking on the fire. He thought of his father's screams echoing in this same hall. The path he had chosen left no room for hesitation now. Slowly, Eddard Stark climbed the steps. Each footfall sounded louder than it had any right to. His hand brushed against a jagged blade protruding from the arm of the throne. It was cold, even in the warmth of the hall. He turned, letting his gray eyes pass over the assembled court one by one. Then he sat. The iron throne bit into him as if testing his mettle. He felt the uneven press of iron beneath him, the prickle of sharp points through his cloak. It was not a seat for comfort. Good, he thought. Rule should not be comfortable. A murmur rippled through the hall, like wind over dead grass. Some faces showed shock, others thinly veiled satisfaction. A few were already calculating how quickly they could have new oaths drafted with Protector inserted in neat script. Grand Maester Pycelle shuffled forward, clearing his throat. "By the king's own hand and seal," he intoned, "Lord Eddard Stark is named Protector of the realm, to govern in his grace's stead until such time as the rightful heir may be seated." One by one they came. The first kneelers were the prudent ones, a Stormlands knight in stag-emblazoned surcoat, a reach lord with roses on his cloak, a nervous Riverlands bannerman who had no desire to find himself on the wrong side of yet another rebellion. They bent the knee not to him, Eddard knew, but to the idea of order, of not being dragged into a war between lions and wolves. He accepted their oaths with a face like carved stone. Others followed more slowly. There was reluctance in some bows, eyes that did not quite drop in deference. Still they knelt. In the back, he saw men slipping away quietly, already hurrying to send ravens to distant lords. Varys and Littlefinger did not kneel. They bowed, oh yes, with all the grace of born courtiers. But men like that bent only so far as their secret purposes required. When the last oath had been taken or conspicuously withheld, Eddard rose from the throne. He could not bear to sit it longer than he must. "Send riders to all the great lords," he ordered. "Let them know the king's will has been enacted." The realm has a protector. There will be no crowning until we have summoned the king's brothers and settled the matter according to law." He did not speak the names Stannis and Renly aloud. Not yet. The hall had heard enough to set tongues wagging. "Janos Slynt," he continued, "you will answer to me directly. No order you receive is to be obeyed unless it bears my seal or the king's. Is that understood?" Slynt, still a little pale, bowed. "Aye, my lord protector." "Good. Then this assembly is ended." He stepped down from the throne, his knees aching slightly from the strain of the iron seat. As he passed Varys, the eunuch murmured, "A heavy burden, my lord. Pray your show. Elders are strong enough to bear it." "So do I," Eddard Stark said. In the queen's apartments, the air was thick with the scent of myrrh and crushed flowers. The walls were hung with rich tapestries of hunts and battles, scenes of Baratheon stags trampling their foes under gilded hooves. But the lions in the room paced in a cage of flesh and fear. Joffrey Baratheon strode back and forth before the hearth, his face mottled with rage. "He cannot do this," he shouted, voice cracking. "I am the king. Father said." "Father said?" "He said many things," Cersei Lannister replied, from where she sat rigid in a high-backed chair. A delicate cup of wine trembled in her hand, though her face was composed. Too many after the wine had gone to his head. Tommen and Myrcella sat together on a cushioned bench, fingers intertwined. Tommen's cheeks were blotchy with drying tears. Myrcella's eyes were too large in her pale face. They stared at the gold cloaks posted just inside the chamber doors. Men who yesterday might have been their protectors, and today were their jailers. "Mother," Myrcella whispered, "why are the guards? Why won't they let us out?" "Because Lord Stark has forgotten his place," Cersei said. Her tone was light, almost conversational. Only the tightness at the corners of her mouth betrayed her. "He believes that smearing a little northern mud on the Iron Throne gives him the right to command lions." Joffrey rounded on her. "Then why don't you call the Kingsguard?" He demanded. "Ser Boros, Ser Mandon, Ser Meryn. The Kingsguard answer to the king." Her gaze flicked to him. "And right now, my sweet, they are not certain who that is." His mouth fell open. "It's me," he said, as if the very idea of doubt were an affront. "It's me. I'm the king. They have to do what I say." "Do they?" she asked softly. "Men like that serve what they think is strength, Joffrey, and strength is a thing they weigh in steel and blood. At this moment, Lord Stark has the city watch, the throne, and the king's will in his hand. The Kingsguard will sit on their white arses and wait to see who draws more blood." He faltered just for a moment. Beneath the prince's arrogance, the boy shivered. "Then send for grandfather," he said. "He'll kill them all. He'll kill every last one of those northern dogs and hang their heads from the walls." He will," Cersei said. "In time." She took a measured sip of wine, tasting the bitterness more than the fruit. Rage burned under her ribs, hot as wildfire. To be herded like a common criminal in her own castle, by city scum bought with northern coin, it was beyond insult. It was war. "They will send word to Casterly Rock," she said, "and my father will come. He will not rush like some hot-headed boy. He will bring men, gold, fear. While Lord Stark sits on his borrowed throne and pretends that parchment and honor are stronger than cold steel." Tommen sniffled. Will they hurt us?" he asked, voice small. She set the cup aside and rose, her gown whispering about her legs like grass in a serpent's path. She went to her children, smoothing Tommen's hair, cupping Myrcella's cheek. "No one will hurt you while I live," she said. "Remember that. If they keep us here, we are alive. If Lord Stark had meant to kill us, he would have done it in the hall with all the realm watching. He thinks himself merciful." Her lips curled. "He will learn that leaving a lioness alive in a cage is no mercy at all." Joffrey frowned at the barred windows. "I won't be kept here," he muttered. "I won't be treated like some hostage." "You are a hostage," she said. He stiffened as if struck. That is what he has made of you, of all of us. But even hostages have teeth if they are lions. Remember that." She crossed to the door, where one of the gold cloaks straightened nervously as she approached. "Commander Slynt," she called. Janos Slynt appeared from the outer chamber, wiping his hands on his cloak. "Yes, your grace." Her eyes raked over him with utter contempt. "You have chosen your side," she said. "I hope, for your sake, it proves the winning one. Know this, though. When my father comes, he will count every man who stood against us, and every man who merely stood aside." Slynt swallowed, Adam's apple bobbing. "My duty is to the king's will your. Spare me your oaths," she said. "You sold them once. You can sell them again." She turned her back on him, letting the snub sting, and returned to her chair. Her mind raced even as she appeared composed. She thought of her brother Jaime at her father's side, of ravens flying west, of sums of gold translated into swords. She thought of the old, cold man in Casterly Rock whose pride would never allow his blood to be handled like this. "Let the wolf have his day," she said softly, so that only the children nearest could hear. "When the lion wakes, there will be no more days for him at all." The small council chamber smelled of ink and wax and old arguments. The carved chair at its head seemed no more comfortable than the Iron Throne had been, though it lacked the threat of impalement. Eddard Stark sat there now, hands braced on the scarred wood of the table, as the men who would help or hinder him weighed their words. "We must send ravens at once," he said, "to Dragonstone, to Storm's End, to every major lord in the realm. They must hear the king's will from my hand before rumors out of this city poison their ears." Grand Maester Pycelle wheezed. "Dragonstone, my lord?" he asked, beard trembling. To Lord Stannis? Surely there is no need to trouble him. The boy Joffrey sits the throne in all but name. The people will have a rightful king," Eddard cut in. "Not a bastard propped up by a mother's lies. Stannis Baratheon is Robert's elder brother and heir by all the laws of gods and men." The word bastard hung there again, heavy and dangerous. Pycelle's eyes flicked to Varys, who blinked slowly, and to Littlefinger, whose expression was one of keen interest, as if watching a pit fight. "Do you mean to proclaim that, my lord?" Peter asked softly. "Publicly? Accuse the queen of adultery and the prince of, well, I would not wish to be the man who had to explain to the small folk why the only king they have ever known is suddenly no king at all." Eddard's jaw tightened. "I will not see the realm ruled by incestuous spawn," he said. "But I will not shout it from the rooftops while the queen's father musters an army. The truth will come in time. For now, it is enough that we obey the law. Stannis must be summoned to answer for his claim." Varys folded his hands in his sleeves. "A wise caution," he murmured. "Word of your adjustment of the queen's freedoms will be galloping down the King's Road as we speak. Lord Tywin is not a man famed for patience when his blood is threatened." "Let him come," Eddard said. "He will find his daughter and grandchildren alive and well-treated. That is more than they once planned for my own children." "Alive, Littlefinger said lazily, "but kept under guard by city scum and northern swords. Tywin may not see the distinction. Then he may take it up with his king when King Stannis sits the throne," Eddard replied. "Until then, he will not dictate terms to me with fire and sword." Janos Slynt shifted in his chair, uncomfortable. "Lord Hand, Lord Protector," he corrected quickly. "What of the city? The commons are already restless. The taverns buzz with talk of the king's death, of the queen being removed. If Lord Tywin marches, they'll hear of that too. They'll riot. Which is why the City Watch will maintain order," Eddard said. "You will double the patrols. Any man inciting riot is to be taken, but gently. We will not win the hearts of the city by butchering them in the streets. Your northern notions of mercy may not suit King's Landing," Littlefinger murmured, half to himself. "Let them learn," Eddard said. He turned to Varys. "You will send word to your birds. I would know every move made in Casterly Rock, Highgarden, and Dorne in the days to come." "Of course, my lord," Varys said, with a little bow. "My little birds sing sweetest when they know they will be listened to." "And you," Eddard said to Littlefinger, "will examine the crown's ledgers. I want to know exactly how deep in debt we are and to whom. If we must raise an army to meet Lord Tywin, I will know where each dragon comes from." Peter smiled. "At last, a language I speak," he said. "You may not like what you hear." "I seldom do," Eddard said, "but I hear it anyway." There were a few more questions, a few more small barbs slipped in the cloth of courtesy. Through it all, Eddard felt the weight of time pressing upon him, like snow on a roof. Each decision sent ripples outward to men he had never seen and would never know. When at last the council broke, and they filed out one by one, Varys lingered by the door. "You move boldly, Lord Stark," he said quietly. "Bold men often change the world, sometimes for the better. Sometimes they are merely remembered in songs that end in blood." Eddard regarded him. "Do you have a song in mind for me, Lord Varys?" The eunuch's smile did not reach his eyes. "I would prefer no song at all. Songs require an ending. I would rather the realm simply endure." "As would I," Eddard said. "But endurance without justice is just a slower sort of death." He left the chamber with that thought still ringing between them. Night had settled fully over King's Landing by the time Eddard Stark found himself alone again. The city's noise came up faint and muffled through the stone. Distant laughter, a baby crying, the occasional clatter of a cart on cobbles, the barked command of a gold cloak on patrol. Life stubborn and indifferent to the games of lords. In his solar, the candles burned low. Papers lay scattered where he had left them. Drafts of proclamations, copies of the king's will, lists of men he could trust and far longer lists of men he could not. The sigil of House Stark, worked in dark thread upon a direwolf pelt that covered the chair's back, watched him with glassy eyes. A raven perched upon its stand by the window, black eyes gleaming. It cocked its head as he approached, as if in question. "Dragonstone," he told it. "Storm's End. Winterfell. Names like prayers." The letters were ready, sealed with wax bearing the direwolf. To Stannis Baratheon, he wrote of law and legitimacy, of the king's will and the danger posed by Lannister ambition. To Renly Baratheon, he wrote more carefully, appealing to his love for his brother and to the need for unity. To Robb, he wrote as a father, not as a hand, telling him only as much as he must and bidding him keep the peace in the north while the south sorted its madness. He tied the first letter to the raven's leg with fingers that felt clumsy from fatigue. The bird shifted and croaked softly. "Fly fast," he murmured, "and find a man with enough sense to read more than the first line." He opened the window. The night air smelled of salt and smoke and the faint rot of the river. The raven launched itself into the darkness, wings beating silently. For a moment, its black shape crossed the moon. Then it was gone. He closed the shutters partway, leaving a crack for the next bird, and crossed back to the table. His gaze fell upon the list of names he had begun to draft. Men to summon, men to watch, men to keep on a short leash. At the top of another page, half-finished, were different names entirely. Brandon Stark, Rickard Stark, Lyanna Stark. He sat heavily, the chair creaking. His hand lay over Lyanna's name as if he could still those stone eyes with his palm. "If you could see me now," he said softly, "sitting that damned throne you cursed with your dying breath." He remembered the Tower of Joy, the smell of blood and roses, her fingers clutching his arm with a strength that did not match her failing voice. "Promise me, not about crowns or kings, about something far more dangerous than any of that." Jon's face rose unbidden in his mind. Jon as a babe, dark hair sticking up in a wild tuft. Jon at 10, solemn at the practice yard, trying twice as hard as Robb to match the master-at-arms strokes. Jon in black, standing on the windswept courtyard of Castle Black, a stranger among strangers. If the realm knew what blood flowed in that boy's veins, this game in the south would turn from a matter of parchments into a bloodbath. He had chosen once to keep that secret, Now, as protector, he wondered if secrecy was still mercy, or if it was cowardice. He turned the page over, hiding the names. The realm had too many ghosts already. A soft knock came at the door. "Enter," he called. It was Jory Castle, his face lined by the day's events. "My lord," he said, "the girls are abed. The queen is quiet in her chambers, or so the guards say. No sign of unrest yet in the streets." "Yet?" Eddard echoed. Jory hesitated. "Begging your pardon, my lord, but was it wise? Sitting the throne, crossing the queen so plain in front of half the court. Men will say you mean to keep it, the throne." Eddard managed a tired smile. "Men will say many things," he said. "Let them. I have no wish for crowns. When Stannis Baratheon comes to claim what is his, I shall gladly return to Winterfell." "If the gods are good," Jory said. He did not sound convinced. Eddard looked at him. "You fear Tywin Lannister." "I fear lions, my lord," Jory said simply. "We've put our hands in their mouths. Even a tame lion bites, and there's nothing tame about this lot." "That is why I have men like you," Eddard said, "to watch my fingers while I do a fool's work." Jory's mouth twitched. "We'll keep them bitten off as slow as we can, my lord." When Jory left, the room felt emptier still. Eddard leaned back and closed his eyes, listening to the low sigh of the wind outside. The city lay under him like a patient in a fever, sweat-slick and restless. Somewhere beyond its walls, rivers flowed between burned villages in the Riverlands, where Tywin Lannister might already have sent his first raiders. Somewhere beyond that, the wall rose, and beyond the wall, he forced his thoughts back. One war at a time. First the lions. Then, perhaps, he could look north to where the true cold waited. He rose at last and stripped off his cloak, laying it over the back of the chair, the direwolf's head staring across the room toward an invisible north. When he finally lay down upon his bed, sleep did not come easily. When it did, it brought dreams of iron and snow and the distant crack of ice under a weight too heavy for it to bear. The tent walls breathed with the wind, the thick canvas billowing faintly with each gust off the river. Inside, it smelled of oiled leather, ink, and the meat roasting on the spit near the central brazier. Shadows shifted across the great map laid out upon the trestle table, the painted rivers and roads crawling with little carved lions. Lord Tywin Lannister held the letter like a man weighing a blade. His pale green eyes moved over the lines again, though he had already committed each word to memory. Protector of the realm, lawful custody, for their own safety and the realm's peace. He read Eddard Stark's script without seeing it, because he was seeing instead his daughter's face when she was a girl of 13, proud and bright and certain the world would bend around her. He saw Joffrey's birth, the first cry, the way Joanna had once smiled when she had held Tyrion in bloody arms. Blood was blood, whatever its flaws. He did not love easily, but what he called his was his. A claw of anger scraped down his ribs. On the table, his knuckles whitened. Across from him, Jaime Lannister lounged in a camp chair, one leg over the arm, golden armor half unbuckled. The brazier's glow picked out the lines of his handsome face, the glint of amusement in his eyes that never quite left. "So the wolf has teeth after all," Jaime said, when the silence had stretched too long. "I always thought he did. You don't survive the Mad King and Robert's temper without learning to bite." Tywin lowered the letter with deliberate care. "He sits the throne," he said, "on the strength of a piece of parchment my drunk fool of a king's son signed between hunting and whoring. He seizes my daughter and my grandchildren, locks them in their own chambers, and calls it custody." His voice was flat. "He thinks law will shield him from me." Jaime's smile thinned. "You sent me to take a hand for a hand when Lady Stark seized Tyrion. I'd say the North remembers that lesson." "Catelyn Stark took a son I do not greatly esteem," Tywin said. "A dwarf with a sharp tongue and a taste for whores. An embarrassment, not an heir. Eddard Stark has taken my legacy." He set the letter down upon the map. The wax of the direwolf seal flaked under his thumb. "We are already across the border," Jaime observed, gesturing toward the carved lions clustered on the painted trident. Gregor's burned 3 villages. Amory Lorch took a holdfast. The River Lord's wail. He grinned. It's been a merry raid. It was a message, Tywin said. A reminder to the Tullys that justice cuts both ways when they harbor thieves. Now it is a prelude. He reached for a small stone carved in the shape of a wolf and placed it upon Riverrun. A lion piece already stood at the nearest crossroad, another poised on the river's far bank. Lord Stark must send men to answer this, Tywin went on. Protector or not, he cannot ignore the cries from his wife's river. He will send south what strength he can, whether under the crown's banner or the wolf's, it matters little. He will thin the north to hold the south. Jaime stretched, chain mail clinking. Good. I'm bored of burning fishermen. Give me a host to carve through. You will have it, Tywin said. But not yet. Not until I know more. He tapped the letter's edge. Stark names Stannis Baratheon without naming him. Rightful heir. Lawful succession. Men like him wrap themselves in duty because they cannot imagine their own ambition. He thinks if he pretends he does not want the throne, no one will notice he's sitting it. And you? Jaime asked. What do you want? Tywin met his son's eyes. Order, he said. A realm where my house's strength is acknowledged, not stolen. A king who understands what it means to owe his crown to Lannister gold. Stark would give the throne to Stannis, a humorless prig with no gratitude in his bones, or keep it for himself while pretending not to. Neither suits me. He reached for another piece, a simple crowned stag, and set it upon Dragonstone. This letter will reach Stannis soon, if it has not already. He will not ignore it. Nor will Renly, wherever he is playing at being charming. We will not be the only ones marching. The tent flap rustled. A rider ducked inside. Mud splattered to his thighs. He dropped to one knee. Lord Tywin, another raven from King's Landing. The king, King Robert, is dead. Jaime's smirk faded. So it begins, he said softly. Tywin took the second letter, broke the seal, scanned the brief lines. The muscles at the corner of his jaw jumped once. He died last night, he said. By now, half the city will have heard. The other half will pretend not to for as long as it profits them. And our sister? Jaime asked. Alive, guarded, insulted. Tywin folded the letter, his movements precise. Stark plays at mercy. Good, let him. Mercy is a kind of leash if you know how to pull it. He straightened, every inch of the old lion's height and authority filling the tent. Send word to Ser Gregor, he said. There are no more raids. He is to ride hard and savage through the Riverlands. Burn their fields, sack their villages, hang their men. Make the trident run red. Let the River Lords scream loud enough that even in King's Landing they cannot pretend not to hear. Jaime arched a brow. That will drive them straight into Stark's arms. Yes, Tywin said, and Stark into mine. He will come south with northern steel and the crown's banner both, thinking himself righteous. And when he does, we will choose where we break him. He looked down at the direwolf piece under his thumb. With a slow, deliberate motion, he pushed a lion onto the same space. Let the wolf sit his stolen throne, he murmured. Every day he lives there, the higher he raises himself, the higher he is when he falls. The first cries came with the dawn. Maria was at the well when she heard them, a wooden bucket in her hands, the cold bite of water sloshing against her knuckles. The air was still, the mist over the fields just beginning to thin. Then, faintly at first, she heard the thunder of hooves and the harsh calls of men. Riders! Someone shouted from the far end of the lane. Riders from the west. Her brother Jory, named for some knight his father had once admired, dropped his bundle of kindling and squinted toward the road. They'll be from Riverrun, he said, half hope and half bravado. Lord Tully's riders. Maybe they're here too. The first of the horses broke through the mist like dark ghosts, armor catching the pale light. But the sigil on their surcoats was not silver trout. It was a lion. Inside, Maria's mother screamed from the cottage door. "Inside now!" The bucket slipped from Maria's fingers, clattering on the stones. Water fanned out in a brief, bright arc before being trampled into mud. They came in a red and gold wave, lances lowered, swords drawn. Ser Gregor Clegane rode at their head, a mountain on a monstrous horse, his helm fanged and black. The breath from his destriers' nostrils steamed in the cold air as they crashed through the low wooden fence that marked the edge of the village. "By order of Lord Tywin Lannister," a man's voice bellowed, as if such orders made fire burn less hot. "You harbor enemies of the crown. Out, all of you." Doors flew open. Small folk spilled into the lane, some holding up empty hands, others clutching children or what little they could seize. A woman fell to her knees in front of Ser Gregor's horse, wailing, "We've done nothing. Please, we've done." His sword moved once. Her voice cut off as cleanly as if the wind had simply stopped. Maria turned and ran. The world narrowed to the pounding of her feet, the rasp of her breath, the shrieks and the sudden roar of flame as a torch found thatch. Someone barreled into her, sent her sprawling in the mud. She scrambled up, slipping, and saw Jory turning, a stick in his hand as if he meant to fend off steel with it. A rider bore down on him, laughing. "Jory!" she screamed. The horse shied, startled by the scream. The rider swore, sawing at the reins. Jory darted aside, the horse's shoulder sending him tumbling, but its hooves missed him by inches. He rolled, came up limping, grabbed Maria's arm. "This way," he gasped. "By the mill. The woods." Behind them, a cottage roof collapsed in a blossom of sparks. The smell of burning straw and something darker filled the air. They ran. The world became a maze of smoke and shadow, glimpses of horror caught between breaths. The miller's boy pinned against a wall by a spear, the old sept blown open, its carved mother face first in the mud. Somewhere a man was shouting that he surrendered, that he would pay whatever they wanted, that they had no quarrel with Lannister or Stark. The sound cut off with a wet gurgle. Maria stumbled over a body, felt the give of flesh under her foot. She did not look down. If she looked, she thought she would never stop looking. They reached the edge of the fields, the line of low scrub that marked the beginning of the thin woods beyond. An arrow hissed past, thudded into a tree where her head had been a heartbeat before. "Go!" Jory shoved her hard. "Run! Don't stop, Maria." "What about?" "Just run." She ran. Behind her, hoofs thundered closer. She heard Jory cry out, but she did not look back. The trees swallowed her, branches clawing at her face, roots catching at her feet. She ran until her lungs burned and her vision blurred, and the screams of the village were only a raw echo in her ears. When she finally fell to her knees in the wet leaves, she was alone. The sky above was a flat, indifferent gray. On the far ridge, two riders watched the smoke rising from the village. "Ser Beric won't like this," one muttered, the silver trout of House Tully half hidden on his torn surcoat. "Ser Beric is days away," the other said. "By the time he comes, there'll be nothing left to like." They turned their horses toward Riverrun, spurring hard. Ravens would fly from the castle before the day was out, carrying news of lions in the Riverlands. News would fly to King's Landing as well, borne on black wings and scorched parchment. In the Red Keep, Eddard Stark would read those words and see not one village, but 1,000. He would see war written in smoke. The great hall of Riverrun smelled of rain and river water and the faint, lingering scent of smoke from the fires that never quite went out. The banners of House Tully hung from the rafters, silver trout on rippling blue and red, stirring as if in a breeze only they could feel. Lord Hoster Tully sat in his carved chair at the high end of the hall, wrapped in furs despite the damp warmth. His once broad shoulders had stooped, his cheeks gone hollow, but his eyes were still sharp when they chose to be. Today, they burned with a fever brightened by anger. "Again," he croaked. "Read it again." Edmure Tully stood below the dais, shoulders tense, auburn hair disordered as if he had been dragging his hands through it for hours. In his fist, The parchment had already begun to crumple at the edges. He smoothed it with a rough thumb and cleared his throat. To Lord Hoster of House Tully, he read, "By grace of the Seven, I write to warn you that Lord Tywin Lannister has loosed his dogs upon your lands. Ser Gregor Clegane and Ser Amory Lorch lead raiding parties east of the Red Fork. 3 villages burned, 2 more sacked. Survivors flee toward Riverrun. The men wear Lannister colors and claim to act on Lord Tywin's orders in answer for the seizure of his son by your daughter, Lady Catelyn. I beg you for aid. Signed, Ser Raymond Derry." He let the parchment fall to his side. "They're not raids," he said hoarsely. "They're punishments. Tywin Lannister does nothing raiding," Brynden Tully said. The Blackfish leaned against a pillar, arms crossed, his dark armor scuffed from the road. "He cuts. He tests. He watches how deep the blood runs and who comes to stop the bleeding. He means to drag us into open war," Edmure said, "to force us to raise our banners so he can call us rebels. He wants us to strike first." Hoster's hand trembled as it gripped the chair's arm. "We are already struck," he rasped. "My people burn. My lords call for my protection. Shall Riverrun sit while the lion pisses in our rivers?" "Riverrun cannot sit," Brynden said. "But we must choose how we stand." Another parchment lay on the table beside Edmure, heavier, the wax seal bearing a direwolf. Brynden picked it up, though he knew its contents already. "To my good father, Lord Hoster," he quoted. "Know that I, Eddard of House Stark, have been named protector of the realm by the will of King Robert. The Queen and her children are held under guard for their safety until the matter of succession is set in law. Lord Tywin's men must withdraw from your lands at once, or they will be declared in rebellion against the crown. I urge you to keep your levies in hand while I move to settle this matter by law and royal authority." He let the letter fall back. "Law and royal authority," Edmure said bitterly. "Tell that to the ashes of Lord Derry's villages." Hoster coughed, a wet hacking that left a stain of red on his kerchief. "Ned Stark is an honorable man," he said when he could speak. "Too honorable, perhaps. He thinks parchments frighten lions." "Lions only fear heavier claws," Brynden said quietly. "He asks us not to raise the banners," Edmure protested. "If we march without the crown's leave, we play straight into Tywin's hands. He'll say we rebel against the king." Brynden snorted. "The king is dying or dead already, and half the realm knows it. Tywin cares about the crown when it suits him. Right now he cares about his grandchildren and his pride. He will not stop because Ned Stark told him to." He looked to Hoster. "We could send riders to King's Landing, pressing Ned to act. Demand that he send crown forces under the royal banner to drive Tywin back. If the North comes south with him, that's 2 great houses against 1. It might be enough to make the lion think twice. Or enough to send him for our throats all the faster," Edmure muttered. Hoster's head sagged for a moment, his breath rattling. Then he straightened with an effort that seemed to cost him dearly. "I will not die a lord who saw his lands burned and did nothing," he said. "You will call the banners, Edmure, quietly at first. Send word to those nearest the raids. We ride to defend our own, not to make war on the crown. Let it be known we answer Tywin's blows, not Stark's quarrel." Edmure drew a breath. "And King's Landing?" Brynden's mouth quirked. "Send a raven to your good son," he said. "Tell him the lion has slipped his leash further than he knows. Ask him if the protector of the realm means to protect the Riverlands as well, or just the stones of the Red Keep." Hoster closed his eyes briefly, exhaustion tugging at his features. "And send to Lysa," he murmured. "The Vale is our kin. Tell my foolish daughter that if she means to nest in her Eyrie while her niece's father plays at King's and her uncle burns, she will answer for it in the next life if not this." "Aye, uncle," Brynden said, though he doubted Lysa would be moved by talk of lives beyond the one that fed her fear. He glanced toward the high windows, where the sky outside was the dull iron of a coming storm. The Riverlands had always been a crossroads, a place armies passed through on their way to glory or ruin. This time, Tully thought the crossroads itself was about to become the battleground. The high hall of the Eyrie was all white stone and thin air, its slender pillars and arched windows making it feel less like a fortress than a place suspended between earth and sky. The moon door at its center yawned open, a mouth into blue emptiness. Far below, the world narrowed to a smudge of green and gray. The veil spread out like a painted map. Catelyn Stark stood 3 paces from that opening, her cloak swirling in the chill mountain breeze. Behind her, the men of her escort shifted uneasily, their eyes flicking to the drop. Even hardened knights grew queasy when the sky seemed to tilt beneath their feet. Opposite her, Lysa Arryn clutched little Robin to her breast, fingers tight in the boy's hair. Her silks were the blue and white of House Arryn, but they hung askew, as if thrown on in haste. Her eyes had the slightly wild sheen Catelyn remembered from their youth, sharpened now by years of grief and isolation. "You cannot think to go," Lysa said. "Not now. Not when they burn and butcher in the Riverlands. You are safest here, Cat. You and your girls should never have left Winterfell. The South is poison. You know it. You've seen it." "I have," Catelyn said. "And it is precisely because I have seen it that I cannot stay sitting in a high hall while my father's lands burn and my husband holds the capital alone." Tywin Lannister sat on a bench against the wall, manacled, his bare feet dangling above the cold stone. His hair was a pale halo in the thin light. He watched them with an expression that teetered between amusement and contempt. "Much as I enjoy being the cause of so much trouble," he drawled, "I feel compelled to note that while you two debate family duty, some of us are actually in chains." "Be silent," Lysa snapped, hugging Robin closer. The boy whimpered and clutched at her, his thin fingers plucking at the front of her gown. "He wants to make us feel sorry for him, Cat. He wants us to forget what he is." "What he is," Catelyn said, her voice tight, "is a hostage, one we cannot use if we never leave the mountains." Uncle Brynden stood near the door, the parchment from Riverrun open in his hands. "The raids grow bolder," he said. "Edmure will raise men whether we wish it or not. He cannot sit while our small folk are roasted in their homes. Without support from the Vale or a clear move from King's Landing, he will stand alone." "King's Landing," Lysa repeated, shuddering. "You saw what they did to Jon. His own men turned on him, poisoned in his own hall, and now you want to return there to place your neck back under their swords? With your husband climbing onto that awful throne as if it were not soaked in blood? No, I won't let you throw your life away." "My life is mine to throw," Catelyn said. She felt the old grief stir at the mention of Jon Arryn, the man who had been like a second father to her. "And it is not my life alone at stake. Ned needs allies. The Riverlands need allies. The Vale cannot hide behind its mountains and pretend the rest of the realm does not exist." Lysa's mouth thinned. "The Vale will do as it must to protect itself," she said. "I will not send my knights to die for some northern fancy of honor. Robert is dead, the lions are loose, and your husband thought it wise to seize their cubs. I will not have House Arryn dragged into Stark madness." Tyrion cleared his throat. "If I might suggest," he said, "that the madness might be somewhat mitigated by the presence of a useful bargaining chip in King's Landing. A dwarf chip, even." Catelyn turned her gaze on him. "You would go back to King's Landing?" she asked. He spread his hands as best he could with the chains. "Better there than staring at an open sky door. I would rather die with my boots on than my hair blowing in the wind on the way down, if it's all the same to you." "He lies," Lysa hissed. "He wants to crawl back to his sister so they can plot together." "Undoubtedly," Tyrion said, "though what we would plot against you in your impregnable perch, I have no idea. Cat, Lady Stark, your husband has my sister and her precious children caged. My father is carving his sigil into your father's lands. If there was ever a time for, what do you northerners call it? Hard choices, that time is now." His mismatched eyes glittered. "Send me to King's Landing as a peace offering. Show Lord Tywin you are not wholly without sense. Let me tell my father that House Tully and House Arryn do not move with Stark's every whim. Then perhaps he will keep his dogs reined in long enough for your honorable lord to do whatever lawful nonsense he plans. Or perhaps, Brynden said mildly, he will mount your head on a spike and send it back as an answer. Tyrion shrugged. Then you are no worse off than you are now. I, on the other hand, am significantly worse off, but you need not lose sleep over that. Catelyn felt the pull of it, the promise of easing the Riverlands' torment, the idea that one life, this man's life, might buy time for thousands. Yet she remembered too the dagger in Bran's bedding, the Lannister blade that had nearly killed her boy. My husband sits the throne as protector, she said slowly. He has named Tywin's raid's rebellion against the crown. If we send you back now, it might be seen as undermining his authority. If you send him back, Lysa said sharply, I will consider it a betrayal. You brought the lion into my nest, cat. Now you would let him fly free to report all he has seen. Catelyn's mouth tightened. He has seen a woman so frightened she would watch her kin burn rather than risk her son's tears, she said. That is no secret to the realm. Lysa flinched as if struck. You will not take my sweet boy from me? She whispered, rocking Robin. I was alone when Jon died. They would have taken Robert too if I had let them. I won't. I won't. No one is talking of taking him, Brynden said wearily. Only of not letting the rest of the world burn while you hide. Catelyn drew a breath. I will go, she said, with or without your leave, sister. If you will not lend the Vale's swords, then keep them. But I will not cower here while Ned stands alone. I will ride first to Riverrun to see father and Edmure, and from there as the gods will it. Lysa's eyes filled with tears. You always left, she whispered, even as a girl. You always went when father called, when duty called. And I stayed. I stayed and I lost my husband and I nearly lost my son. I will not lose you too. Catelyn stepped closer, stopping just out of reach of the moon door's invisible lip. You lost Jon to the same men who now circle my husband, she said. If we do nothing, we will lose everything. I will send word when I reach Riverrun. If you find courage in that time, send it after me in the shape of knights. She turned to Tyrion. As for you, you will remain here a while longer. I will not trust any bargain that depends on Lord Tywin's mercy. Not yet.
Tyrion sighed.
I confess myself disappointed, he said, but not surprised. As she left the hall, the wind caught at Catelyn's hair, tugging it toward the open sky. Below, the Vale lay quiet under a veil of clouds. Beyond its mountains, flames licked at the Riverlands, and in King's Landing, the game her husband had chosen to play pulled more pieces onto the board. In Winterfell, the cold had begun to seep back into the stone. Summer clung still to the godswood and the fields beyond, but in the great hall, with its thick walls and high-beamed ceiling, there was always a hint of the coming chill. The hearthfire roared, spitting sparks that danced up the chimney. Shadows from the carved direwolves along the benches leapt upon the walls. Robb Stark sat in his father's chair, the carved wooden seat that had once seemed so vast when he was a boy. Now his shoulders fitted a little too well. Gray wind lay at his feet, great head resting on his paws, yellow eyes tracking every movement. The raven's message lay open on the table before him, the direwolf seal broken. He had read it thrice already, and still the words hammered at his chest. Have been named protector of the realm by King Robert's will. The queen and her children held under guard, Lord Tywin's men in open defiance upon Tully lands. You are to keep the peace of the north while I settle this matter in King's Landing by law and royal authority. Trust no rumor of my fall unless it comes by my own hand or Maester Luwin's. His father's handwriting was firm, even. There were no flourishes, no wasted words. It sounded like him, too. Calm where others would rage, cautious where others would charge. Maester Luwin stood at Robb's elbow, hands folded in his sleeves, his chain glinting in the firelight. Theon Greyjoy lounged nearby, one boot up on the bench, a cup of ale in his hand. his dark hair falling into his eyes. "So your father's king now," Theon said, half admiration and half jest. "Protector, they call it. Sounds like king in all but name to me." "He does not call himself that," Robb said. He touched the parchment again, as if the ink might blur. "He says it is only until the rightful heir is seated." "The rightful heir," Theon repeated. "He doesn't say which brother that is, I notice." Robb scowled. "That's for the lords of the South to decide. My father's concern is keeping the peace until they do." "The peace?" Theon said dryly. While Tywin's dogs piss fire on the trident, Grey Wind's ears pricked at the word dogs. A low rumble started deep in his chest. "Peace in the north, at least," Maester Luwin said. "That is what your lord father asks of you, to hold fast, to keep your swords sheathed while the south sorts itself." Robb looked from one man to the other. "And you would have me do that? Sit idle while grandfather's lands burn and Uncle Edmure bleeds? While mother rides into danger?" Luwin's expression pinched. "Your lady mother has not yet told us her mind. The raven from Riverrun said only that she had left the Vale. She may ride here to us." "She'll ride to father first," Robb said. "If she can. She'll think he needs her more than I do." The words were bitterer than he meant them to be. He loved his mother. He knew she loved him. But some part of him felt like a boy again, watching her ride south and feeling Winterfell grow too large and too empty. "The Riverlands are not your charge, Robb," Luwin said gently. "The North is. If you strip it of men to answer every raid south of the Neck, you leave your own people vulnerable." "Vulnerable to whom?" Robb demanded. "The Lannisters? They are 1,000 leagues away." "The Ironborn," Luwin said quietly. "The free folk beyond the wall. Hunger if the harvest fails. The world has more wolves than those in lion skins." Theon took a swallow of ale, eyes flicking up. "My father is no friend to Lannisters," he said. "Nor Starks either, for that matter. But he's not fool enough to strike while the North's at peace. He learned that lesson once." "Did he?" Robb asked, sharper than he intended. Theon's jaw tightened. For a heartbeat, something old and wounded flickered in his eyes. Then he smirked. "Easy, Stark," he said. "I'm only saying that if you march south, you best be sure whose banners are at your back when you do, and whose ships are prowling your coasts." Robb pushed back from the table. The chair scraped. Grey Wind sprang up, sensing the tension in his master's muscles. "I will not sit in Winterfell like some craven lordling while my kin are butchered," Robb said. "Father may command me to hold the North, but he also taught me that a Stark is the shield of his people. The Riverlands are as much my blood as the hills of the North. If I do nothing," Luwin's gaze softened. "What would you do then?" "Call the banners," Robb said, the decision crystallizing even as he spoke it. "Quietly at first, as Uncle Brynden would. Summon those closest to the Neck. We can say we mean to strengthen Moat Cailin against any southern spillover, to prepare for uncertainty." He looked at the letter again. "Father needs strength at his back, whether he asks for it or not. If he is right, and the law prevails, then we march south as the king's loyal men, to help him bring Lord Tywin to heel. If the law fails..." He did not finish. He did not need to. The room seemed to hold its breath. Luwin bowed his head. "Very well," he said. "I will see the ravens sent. But know this, Robb. Once the banners are called, they do not easily return to their poles. Lords will expect war, glory, or recompense. You are no longer a boy playing at Lord. You will be the Stark in Winterfell in truth." Robb swallowed. The words settled on his shoulders like a cloak weighted with iron. "I know what I am," he said, "or what I must be." Grey Wind pressed against his leg, a living shadow, warm and solid. Robb's hand found the direwolf's fur, fingers tangling in thick gray hair. "Send for the Great John," he said, "and Lord Glover, Lord Manderly, the Boltons, the Karstarks. Tell them to come for counsel. I will hear their words, and then I will give them mine. Within a fortnight, Winterfell's quiet rhythm had changed. The clang of the smith's hammer was joined by the trumpet's call, by the shouts of men drilling in the yard. The stables swelled with horses, their breath steaming in the chill mornings. Cook fires burned day and night, their scents mingling stew, baking bread, wet leather drying. The banners came, first the gray giant of House Umber, stomping into the courtyard on a blustery wind. Great John Umber himself rode at the head, a bear of a man with a booming laugh that shook the snow from the rafters. He threw back his fur hood and clapped Robb on the shoulder hard enough to stagger him. "So the pup calls the pack," he roared. "About bloody time. I was starting to think you'd grown soft down here with your southern toys." Robb straightened, forcing himself not to rub the bruised shoulder. "There is nothing soft about burning villages," he said. "Lord Tywin sends his dogs into Tully lands. I will not sit idle while my mother's kin bleed." "Aye," Great John grinned, showing a gap where a tooth had once been. "Give me Lannister skulls, and I'll drink my ale from them. You point me south, boy, and I'll show you how Umber's answer lion roars." Behind him came men with shaggy beards and patched cloaks, axes slung at their belts. They laughed loudly, argued loudly, loved loudly. They would bleed loudly too, Robb thought, but they would not do it quietly. House Bolton arrived with far less noise. Roose Bolton rode at the head of a neat column of pale men in dull mail, their cloaks a washed-out pink that made Robb think of old meat. Bolton's eyes were colorless as ice water, his face smooth and almost gentle. "Winterfell is as I remember," he said, dismounting with careful grace. "Lord Eddard has left it in capable hands." "You flatter me, my lord," Robb said, wary. "I hope to prove worthy of his trust." Bolton's gaze flicked briefly to Grey Wind, who had padded forward to sniff at the newcomers. The dire wolf bared his teeth, a low growl reverberating in his chest. "A fearsome beast," Bolton observed. "Wargs are frowned upon in some circles, but here in the north we know the value of a good hound." "He's no hound," Robb said, his tone sharpening despite himself. "He is of my blood." Bolton's lips curved in something that was not quite a smile. "Of course." One by one, the lords of the north came. Lord Karstark with his tall sons, their long faces dour. Fat Lord Manderly from White Harbor, grumbling about the cost of war even as he brought a well-fed retinue. Lady Donella Hornwood, widowed and fierce-eyed, with more men than any might have expected. Each bent the knee to Robb as Lord of Winterfell and pledged their swords. In the great hall they feasted, the noise rising to the rafters. Robb sat the high seat, a cup untouched before him, listening as they argued. "March now," Great John bellowed over a platter of ribs. "Catch the lions before they dig their claws in. We'll break them between Riverrun and the neck." "We march under whose banner?" asked Lord Manderly, dabbing grease from his chin. "The crown's? Lord Stark's? Are we king's men or rebels? It matters, boy, to the men, to the coin, and to the songs afterward." "We are neither," Roose Bolton said softly, "nor both. Lord Stark sits the throne as protector. Until he declares otherwise, we are his sword, unsheathed at his will. That will serve for now." "What if he falls?" Karstark demanded. "What if the lions take his head, as they took his father's? Will we sit and wait then, counting banners and arguing precedents, while our blood is spilled?" The words knifed into Robb's chest. He saw his grandfather and uncle dangling in the Mad King's Hall, the stories he had half believed and half feared all his life. "He will not fall," Robb said, his voice cutting through the din like a drawn blade. The hall quieted. "He sits the throne with the king's will in his hand. He holds the queen and her children as surety. The law is with him." "The law!" Great John snorted. "I've never seen a scrap of parchment stop a charging horse." "The law is words," Roose Bolton murmured. "Words are wind. Steel is truth. Then we bring steel where his words cannot reach," Robb said. "We march south to Moat Cailin. There we hold until my father sends word. If he commands us to return, we return. If he calls us further south, we answer. But we do not wait in Winterfell while the world burns. You'd have us camp in a bog, Greatjon said, though his eyes glinted with approval. You have a cruel streak, boy. I like that. Moat Cailin holds the neck, Lord Manderly mused. Any host from the south must pass under its walls or not at all. To hold it is to choose whether war comes north. Just so, Maester Luwin murmured at Robb's side, almost as if surprised. Robb felt the eyes of the north upon him. He thought of Bran, broken and stubborn, of Rickon, wild as any pup, of Sansa and Arya in that distant, dangerous city, of his father on that jagged throne. We ride in a fortnight, he said. The men will need time to gather their levies and put their houses in order. Take these days to see your arms mended, your bellies filled. Once we leave Winterfell, we may not see it again for a long while. Greatjon roared, lifting his cup. To the young wolf, may he feast on lion meat before the year is out. The hall took up the cry, voices crashing like waves. Robb forced a smile, but inside he felt the weight of every cheer like links in a chain. Young wolf, they called him. Lord. One day, perhaps, king. Titles were easy to shout. It was the price of them that mattered, and it was always paid in blood. Dragonstone was all black stone and harsher winds. A fortress carved in the image of dragons perched upon jagged cliffs. The great hall bore it most of all. Pillars shaped like scaled necks, shadows like wings. The air smelled of salt and smoke and something older, the tang of fires stoked with strange woods. Stannis Baratheon stood at the war table, hands braced on either side of a carved model of King's Landing. His jaw worked as he read the letter again, eyes raking the lines with a fury too disciplined to flare into simple rage. Protector of the realm, rightful heir, law and justice. Ned Stark, he said at last, the name coming out like a verdict. I told Robert that he was the only man in King's Landing who still cared for the truth. It seems he also has a taste for law. Davos Seaworth stood across from him, thumbs hooked in his belt. He wore no great lord's finery, only plain wool and the year's salt still clinging faintly to him. He watched his king with the wary loyalty of a man who had once knelt on a beach while the same hand had cut off his fingers. He names you without naming you, Davos said. Rightful heir is not a phrase that leaves much room for doubt. Melisandre of Ashai watched from near the hearth, the red silk of her gown catching the firelight as if it glowed from within. Her hair fell in dark waves, her eyes half-lidded, fixed upon the flames. He names you in fear as much as hope, she said. He sits the iron throne and feels its teeth. He knows he cannot keep it. He reaches for you like a drowning man for a rock. Stannis' mouth tightened. He did not write to me when he first found the truth of Cersei's bastards, he said. He went to my brother's whore in the city. He went to Renly. He went to Littlefinger. Only when his choices have all gone to ash does he remember there is law. Yet he remembers, Davos said. That is more than most in that nest of rats. He could have named himself king or made alliance with the Lannisters. Instead, he seizes the throne only to hold it for you. That speaks to his honor. Honor, Stannis said. Honor is cold comfort when you sit in a dark castle with no friends and a crown you haven't yet taken. He picked up the letter, eyes narrow. He has the queen and her children under guard. That gives him leverage and makes him vulnerable. Tywin will not suffer it, nor will Cersei, nor, I suspect, will half of King's Landing. The half who love their little golden prince, Melisandre said with a hint of contempt. Love is a poor measure of a king. The Lord of Light does not weigh hearts. He weighs destinies. She moved closer to the fire, her gaze distant. The flames show me a city in smoke, she murmured. A throne of swords with a wolf upon it, and a shadow of a stag behind. I see a hand, black with frost, reaching south from a wall of ice. I see a boy with the blood of dragon and wolf. She smiled faintly. So many flickers, so many possibilities. Davos shifted, uneasy. He had seen her stare into fires before, seen the way Stannis leaned toward her words as a drowning man might lean toward a rope. It made him itch the way old superstitions did when he sailed too close to ghost stories. "What matters now," he said carefully, "is the sea between here and King's Landing. If you mean to claim what is yours, my lord, we must cross it." Stannis grunted. "Do you counsel me to sit and wait on Dragonstone while the Northman toys with law and custody? While my younger brother smiles and makes friends in the Reach? While Tywin Lannister sharpens his teeth on Tully bones?" "No," Davos said. "I counsel you to sail, and swiftly, not to take King's Landing by storm. That would be folly with so few men, but to stand in the harbor as a fact the realm cannot ignore. Let them see Stannis Baratheon at the gates with the fleet he still commands. Let them know the rightful king has not forgotten his claim." Stannis' eyes narrowed. "And what then? I knock politely upon the gates and ask Lord Stark to step off my throne." "Something like that," Davos said, a flash of humor softening his rough features. "He is an honest man. He will not pretend you have no right. And if he refuses to move, then at least you will know who blocks your way. Better an honest enemy than a false friend in that city." Melisandre's voice slid between them like silk. "The fire shows me another path," she said. "Sail not with a plea, but with a sword and a new god. Bring light into that den of shadows. Tear down their false idols and false kings." Stannis' face flickered, caught between two promises. The hard, simple one of Davos' counsel, and the grand, terrible one of Melisandre's faith. "I will not go to King's Landing as a supplicant," he said finally. "I am Robert's heir, not his petitioner." He looked to Davos. "Rouse the fleet. We sail at first clear weather, not to bombard the city like some pirate, but to anchor in Blackwater Bay. Let them see my banners. Let them see my claim." "And Lord Stark?" Davos asked. Stannis' jaw tightened. "I will give him the chance to do what is right," he said. "He has stepped beyond his reach once. If he steps aside when I come, I may forgive it. If he clings to that throne like any other usurper." He looked back at the flames. The light painted his face in harsh lines, turning his eyes to coals. "Then I will treat him as I would any man who stands between me and what is mine," he finished. Where Dragonstone was stone and storm, the Reach was all soft earth and sun. Renly Baratheon stood on a balcony overlooking a sweep of green that seemed to go on forever. Fields and vineyards, orchards heavy with fruit, the gold and green banners of House Tyrell stirring in a sweet-scented breeze. Below, the training yard rang with the clang of steel and the shouts of men at arms. In his hand, the parchment from King's Landing crackled softly as he folded it once, twice, until the words were hidden. "Lord Eddard Stark has been named Protector of the Realm. The Queen and her children held under guard. Stannis Baratheon summoned as rightful heir." "This is madness," he said. "Stark's madness, Stannis' stubbornness, my brother's carelessness. All of it." Loras Tyrell leaned against the stone rail beside him, helm under one arm, dark hair damp with sweat from the yard. Even after practice, he looked annoyingly composed. "Madness, perhaps," Loras said, "but not without opportunity." "Opportunity," Renly repeated, arching a brow. "You hear that my brother lies dying, that his hand has effectively seized the throne, that Stannis is being invited to sweep in with his claim, and you think opportunity? What else is there to think?" Loras asked lightly. "You've said yourself Stannis would make a miserable king. Grim as winter, with all the charm of a boiled turnip. The realm will not love him. Cersei's boy is no better. Neither is the dwarf. Who does that leave if not you?" Renly laughed, short and incredulous. "Me? I sit on a balcony in the Reach, Loras. Stark sits the throne. Stannis commands the royal fleet. Tywin musters in the west. Where, exactly, do you see the path that ends with a crown on my head?" Loras's eyes were steady on him, bright as polished steel. "The path that passes through Highgarden," he said. "My father is not blind. He can count as well as any man. He knows your claim is good, better than the queen's bastards if their rumors are true. He also knows that whoever wears that crown will need the Reach's grain and gold. If House Tyrell throws its weight behind you. Renly looked back out over the green sea of fields. Mace Tyrell would like the sound of marrying his daughter to a king, he said slowly. He likes the sound of marrying her to anyone who sits high enough, even when they don't want her. Loras's mouth tightened. Renly regretted the jab as soon as it left him. I don't want to be your queen's brother, Loras said quietly. I want to be the man whose sword you trust at your side. Renly sighed, scrubbing a hand over his face. I know, and you are, but the realm doesn't care who I bed in the dark. Cares who shares my table and my power. If I were king. He let the if hang between them like a bridge half-built. When you are king, Loras said. Renly snorted. You have the Tyrell knack for confidence. I'll give you that. He unfolded the letter again, eyes catching on the lines. Chaos if we break faith with law. Realm in peril if Cersei Lannister's bastards claim the throne. Stannis Baratheon the rightful heir. Stark will not support me, he said. He is too chained to law. He would sooner crown Stannis and let the realm starve under his righteousness than choose a king the people might actually follow. If I ride to King's Landing now, he'll see me as just another usurper. Then don't ride as a usurper, Loras said. Ride as the man who brings the Reach to his rescue. Offer him a choice, your banners and your gold in support of his protectorate, in exchange for a betrothal between you and, well, his lips twisted. Some suitably noble lady who can give you heirs in the proper way. Once you stand beside him, with the Reach at your back, he will find it harder to push you aside when Stannis comes hammering at the gates. And Stannis? Renly asked. Do you think he will sit quietly at Dragonstone while I make myself indispensable in King's Landing? Loras shrugged. Stannis will do what he always does. March where law tells him to march. He will bristle and spit and demand what is his. The realm will see him for what he is, unyielding, humorless, friendless, and it will look to you instead. But that is in the future. For now, you cannot sit in Highgarden letting others shape the game. Renly looked down at the letter one last time, then tore it neatly down the center. My brother is dying, he said. The wolves have taken the throne, the lions gnash their teeth, and my other brother sails with a fanatic whispering in his ear. If I do nothing, I am no better than one of Mace's fat bannermen, content to feast while the world burns. He dropped the scraps of parchment into the brazier. The flames licked them greedily. Very well, he said. We ride for King's Landing. I'll speak to Lord Mace. He'll crow, and he'll dither, and he'll send half the Reach's banners just to see his colors beside mine when I enter the city. And when you enter, Loras said, you will not be a lone younger brother. You will be Renly Baratheon, with roses at your back and green cloaks filling the streets. Stark will have to see you then. Renly smiled, and this time some of his old easy charm sparkled. Stark will see me whether he wishes to or not, he said. And when the dust settles, perhaps the realm will as well. The map room off the Tower of the Hand was smaller than the council chamber but felt less haunted. There were no thrones here, no dais, only a stout table scarred by years of elbows and spilled wine. The walls were lined with shelves laden with rolled charts and ledgers. In the high window, the city sprawled. Red rooftops, winding streets, the glittering line of the Blackwater. Eddard Stark stood over the map of Westeros, fingers tracing the painted rivers of the Trident. Little wooden towers marked Tully holdings. Here and there, a lion had been placed atop them to show where reports said Lannister men were seen. Too many lions, too much red. The raids grow bolder, he said. Lord Derry's lands burn. Blackwood and Bracken both send desperate ravens. Strange bedfellows they make. His mouth twitched. Tywin means to force our hand. Varys stood at his side, plump fingers lightly resting on the table's edge. He will not stop, the eunuch said. Not while his daughter and grandchildren are under guard. This is his language, the only one he trusts. Fear. And what is yours, Lord Stark? Peter Baelish asked from where he lounged against a shelf, arms crossed. Honor? It's a fine tongue, but not one many here speak. Ser Barristan Selmy stood near the door, white cloak falling in clean lines, his hair as pale as the cloth. He watched the exchange without comment, a living statue in the corner of the room. Eddard straightened. My language is law, he said. Tywin Lannister's attacks are rebellion against the crown. As protector, I will answer them as any rebellion must be answered. Peter's smile sharpened. With swords. With swords, Eddard agreed. But not Stark swords alone. The crown will stand with its Riverlands lords, or it is no crown at all. I will not have the North march as rebels while I sit here wearing a borrowed authority like a mask. He looked to Varys. What news from the sea? Varys folded his hands. The fleet at Dragonstone stirs, he said. My little birds say Stannis Baratheon has taken Lord Stark's summons to heart. Ships are being provisioned, oars tested. There is talk of sails heading toward the capital soon. And Renly? Eddard asked. Highgarden buzzes, Varys said. Lord Mace is never more excited than when banners fly. His youngest daughter is being fitted for new gowns. Make of that what you will. Renly travels in the Reach with Ser Loras Tyrell at his side, whispering in ears and smiling in faces. I would not be surprised to see Rose and Stag banners on the King's Road before long. So the King's brothers converge, Peter murmured. One riding with flowers, one with fire, and between them sits the wolf. Eddard ignored him. If Stannis comes to the city, I will recognize his claim, he said. I gave Robert my word that I would uphold the rightful succession. When that is done, I may lay down this burden and return to Winterfell. And if he comes with sword in hand and red priestess at his shoulder? Peter asked, amused. If he sees you as another usurper, clinging to his throne? Then he will be wrong, Eddard said. And I will tell him so. In the meantime, we have more immediate foes. He placed a hand upon the Riverlands on the map. Send Ser Beric Dondarrion with a royal banner and as many men as we can spare, he said. He will ride to Lord Tully's aid under the King's peace. Let Tywin see that if he strikes at the trident, he strikes at the crown. Ser Barristan, will you choose from the Kingsguard who will ride with him? Barristan inclined his head. As you command, my lord. The Kingsguard serve the realm, not one house alone. Peter's eyes narrowed, thoughtful. You mean to make Beric your answer to Tywin, a symbol as much as a sword? Symbols matter, Eddard said, echoing Baelish's own earlier words. A royal banner in the Riverlands will remind men that the crown is not a lion's plaything. Varys cleared his throat. And what of the north? He asked softly. My birds say ravens fly thick from Winterfell. The young wolf calls his banners, whatever words he wraps around the summons. If he marches south without your leave, he will hold at Moat Cailin, Eddard said. He tried to sound certain. I told him to keep the peace of the north. He knows what is at stake. Boys of his age know many things, Varys said, and forget most of them when glory whispers in their ears. Ser Barristan stirred. With respect, Lord Varys, he said. I have seen young lords grow into their duty when war came. Rhaegar was but a boy when his father first named him prince, yet he bore the weight. Rhaegar died beneath my friend's hammer, Eddard said. I would not see my son beneath a lion's claws. He turned back to the map. For now, we will send Beric. We will send letters to Robb, to Hoster Tully, to Lysa Arryn again. The crown calls for unity against Tywin's overreach. When Stannis arrives, we will present him with a realm that has not yet torn itself apart. Peter pushed off the shelf. And if the realm tears anyway? He asked lightly. If Stannis and Renly both arrive with crowns in mind, if Tywin marches east and the north marches south, and all your parchment cannot hold it? Eddard looked up at him. The weariness in his eyes did not dull their steel. Then I will do what I have always done, he said. I will stand where I must stand, and I will not move. Let the realm tear around me if it must. I swore to protect it. I did not swear it would be easy. When the others had gone, leaving only the map and the mutter of the city beyond the window, Eddard stood alone with the painted rivers and carved sigils. His hand hovered over the neck, over a tiny wooden tower marked Moat Cailin. He thought of Robb, of a boy becoming a lord beneath a sky that grew heavier with ravens each day. "Hold fast, son," he murmured. "Hold as the North has always held. I will not leave you a realm of lion bones and burned fields if I can help it." The godswood of the Red Keep was a poor thing compared to Winterfell's ancient grove. There was no great weirwood there, no vast canopy of red leaves whispering secrets to the wind. Instead, a thin sapling struggled in stony soil, its bark pale but unmarked by the carved faces of the old gods. The air smelled not of earth and moss, but of stone and the faint tang of the sea wafting up from the city below. Yet it was all he had. Eddard Stark knelt before the sapling, the flagstones cold through his breeches. His sword lay before him, the steel catching the moonlight. Above, the sky over King's Landing was a deep, smudged blue, the stars dimmed by the glow of 1,000 torches. He closed his eyes. In his mind, he saw the godswood of Winterfell instead. The dark pool, the red leaves, the carved heart tree watching with its weeping eyes. He saw his father standing beneath its branches, knighting men, speaking of honor. He saw himself as a boy, sword in hand, learning the weight of steel. He saw his children playing there, Robb wrestling with Theon, Sansa weaving crowns of flowers, Arya climbing where she should not. "Forgive me," he whispered, to the memory of that place and to the gods who might or might not listen so far from home. "For sitting a throne that is not mine. For seizing Cersei Lannister's children like pieces in a game. For putting my own children in the jaws of lions by coming here at all." The thin leaves above him rustled slightly in a breeze that did not quite reach his skin. "You know why?" he went on. "You saw Robert's wrath. You saw the dragons fall, the Mad King burn. You know what happens when kings are made without weight behind their names. I thought if one honest man stood in that hall, it might be enough. That I could keep the worst from happening." He thought of Cersei's eyes in the throne room, cold, promising ruin. Of Tywin's invisible hand reaching east with each burned village. Of Stannis sailing with his jaw set. Of Renly riding with roses. Of Varys' soft voice and Littlefinger's sharper one. "Perhaps I was wrong," he said. "Perhaps one man is never enough. But I am what I am. A Stark of Winterfell. I know how to stand a wall and hold it against what comes. That is all I know." He bowed his head. "Give me strength," he said, "to hold when they come from every side. To see past the games of lions and stags to the wolves and worse that wait beyond them. To remember my children's faces when the easy path and the right path are not the same." Footsteps sounded on the gravel behind him, soft but not stealthy. He did not reach for his sword. Only 2 men in this castle would approach him in the godswood at night without guards. One a spider, the other a wolf. Lord Stark. It was Varys. Of course it was. The eunuch's slippers whispered like leaves. Eddard opened his eyes but did not rise. "Do the new gods displease you, Varys, that you come to watch me pray to the old ones?" he asked. "I would not presume to judge the gods," Varys said. "Only the men who claim to speak for them." He moved into view, plump and pale in the moonlight. "I thought you should know," he said. "Another raven from the Riverlands. Ser Beric has ridden, as you commanded, but the lion's fire spreads. There are tales of a village where every tree bears a hanged man. Lord Tywin wishes you to hear his song clearly." Eddard rose, joints creaking softly. "Then I will answer him," he said, "with all the voices I can gather." Varys' gaze flicked to the thin sapling. "I sometimes envy you, my lord," he said, "to believe that someone is listening when you speak into the dark." "Someone always listens," Eddard said. He thought of the weirwood's carved face, of his father's voice, of the way the wind sounded in the pines. "The question is whether they care." He sheathed his sword and looked past Varys, toward the city walls. Beyond them, a world he had never truly seen stretched in every direction. South to suns he had only heard of in song, east to lands of spice and shadow, north to the wall and the wild. For now, he said, I will put my faith in men, in my son holding the north, in Stannis remembering law, in a riverlord's stubbornness and a spider's whispers, even, and if the gods have a care for this realm, perhaps they will meet us halfway. Varys inclined his head. If they do, he said, I hope they are less capricious than the kings we have known. Eddard left the godswood with the smell of stone still in his nose, but with a faint echo of cold leaves rustling in his memory. The night felt no lighter when he stepped back into the Red Keep's torchlit corridors, but his resolve had a new edge. Tomorrow, ravens would fly again, orders would be given, men would march. And somewhere far to the north, under a sky clearer than the city's smoke-choked dome, the true winter waited, patient and implacable, for all their petty crowns to mean nothing at all.